Hello, everyone. I'm Kanwar Gaurav Paul, Head of Product at Uber. And today I'm going to talk about a very interesting topic. It's about finding the best use cases for AI in your products. Product is all about can inspiration turn a what if into the what's next? And finding the balance between product value and consumer behavior is really critical. Before I begin, I would like to say opinions expressed during this presentation are from individual experiences, working with very large product teams, rolling out products, talking to customers, but in no way or form represent Uber methodologies. Humans versus UX design. This is a very interesting concept. Does it provide clarity or confusion? When you look at the nest example over here, it's all about you don't have to think too much, just look for the leaf. If you find the leaf, you have achieved what is the right temperature based on the environment around you, zip code locations and everything. So you're in a good state. On the other side, I'm sure we have all come across tools like this where the actions are intended to be something else, but the outcomes are totally different. And user experience is important because it tries to fulfill the user's needs. It aims to provide that positive experience that keeps a user loyal to a product or to a brand. And additionally, a meaningful user experience allows you to define the customer journey of your product that are most conducive to business success. We all would agree that AI has been a game changer in almost every industry, but finding the best use cases for AI has been an ever increasing and a complex challenge. And with the advent and hyper growth in compute capacity over the last decade, uh, humans have become the bottleneck when it comes to harnessing data for insights. And that's where AI steps in. UX solves a very critical challenge of enabling a virtual connection between humans' cognition and the AI insights. Um, so getting deeper into the connection between AI and UX, we all might remember this movie Matrix, Keanu Reeves. They actually like plug in a big wire where all the data is downloaded, all the insights are downloaded, all the recommendations are downloaded. Uh, till the time those physical links are created, which I'm sure Elon Musk's Neuralink and some of the other cool startups are really working on creating that brain computer interface, what we call like the BCIs or also the NCIs, which is the neural control interface or the mind machine interface. There are like several names for this, which is all about creating a direct communication pathway between an enhanced or wired brain and an external device. Till the time that is done, UX is going to be extremely critical. And UX is that wireless virtual interface to a human brain through a great UI. So why AI? If you really break down AI is a wide-ranging branch of computer science concerned with building smart machines capable of performing tasks that require human intelligence. It's really an endeavor to replicate or simulate human intelligence in machines. So if you think about it, it's all about learning from humans, do what humans do, and then trying to represent it in a different form or a manner at a very different scale. Very successful products have a couple of things working hand in hand all the time. Design thinking, which is we all know is a set of principles for hands-on approach to problem solving using the human-centered design. Within a design-centric culture, anywhere where the emotional, cognitive, or the aesthetic needs of a user tend to be fulfilled. And design thinking is aimed to be more conceptual and research activities in the earlier phases of a UX design. That leads to the pattern of a very interactive UI, and then you really need to have all the engineering and the AI behind it to enable those seamless experiences. So what type of AI products are out there where we need the most exceptional UX and the UI experiences out there? So AI is basically three types: narrow or weak AI. Weak AI is the most limited and the most common AI. It's also known as narrow intelligence or artificial narrow intelligence. It refers to any AI tool that focuses on doing one task really well. That is, it has a narrow scope in terms of what it can do. The idea behind weak AI isn't to mimic or replicate human intelligence. Rather, it is to simulate human behavior. It's dedicated to assist with or take over a specific task. Um, if you think about it, narrow AI is the most commonly used AI, but you stitch a couple of good executions of narrow AI into a thread, and it becomes really effective. Look at self-driving cars. Look at NLP engines, NLU engines, natural language generations. It's weak AI, but small pieces of them doing one task really well, stitched together to create a complete outcome. The second out of the three is the strong AI. Strong AI, which is also known as general AI or artificial general intelligence. Strong AI refers to that AI can now exhibit human level intelligence. It can understand, think, and act the same way as humans might in a given situation. In theory, anything humans can do, a strong AI can do. It actually takes tasks from one domain and transfers it to another domain. The Google Voice translation is actually a good example. It's an early stab at strong AI. If I talk in English and I have to convert it into French, the AI needs to understand the sentiment of that. Now go find sentences and words that display exactly the same sentiment. It's not a word-to-word replacement, but it's really getting a little deeper under the hood to create more intelligence around it. The last is the most interesting one. This is when we see in our movies where robots take over the world, like Iron Man and all that stuff, right? It's super AI surpasses human intelligence and ability. It's known as artificial super intelligence or just super intelligence. It's best at everything. So let's just focus on weak AI for now, because that's the most commonly used and the most effective one. Narrow AI or weak AI really thrives in large organizations. It's a simple high school maths problem if you think about it. It's permutation combination. You put three people to do a task, it's easier to do it. Think about, like, you have 4 friends, you're still having a good party. You move from 4 friends to 10 friends, it's becoming like a little chaotic, still a lot of fun. You move to 14 people, now there are smaller groups that are being created, and a lot of information is getting lost between those conversations happening. That's how, when you look at tasks happening across an organization, that's what happens. There are organizations are large. There's a lot of hand holding happening. There's a lot of tacit knowledge that we humans have inherently that's not documented. And that's where we capture structured data and unstructured data. There are user journeys that we are trying to complete. Like if I had to do one task, I can take 5 steps to do it. If one of my peers has to do that task, he or she may have 4 steps to do it or 6 steps to do it. And if you put 100 of us, there may be like probably 50 different ways or 20 different ways to do it. That's where AI thrives. It tries to see those patterns, understand what's the fastest way possible, what's the most efficient way possible. And it can also learn from, oh, here are some of the steps that were not performed, but if we club these steps in a sequence, it would actually have a much better outcome. That's where AI starts to actually kick in and bring value to the organization. It really tries to bring simplicity when there is exceptional complexity. And companies can no longer gain advantage simply by adopting any AI technology. They have to be very creative with it, very responsible with it, and solve for user issues in a seamless, non-intrusive manner. One of the big problems is, where do I even start to find a use case like that? It really depends a lot on what's your organization appetite, what's your maturity level, and what's the stakeholder commitment. If you go through that 70-20-10 rule, how much time you have is on one axis, how much impact you want to make, and what are the customer segments that you're trying to make that impact in. A lot of the innovation that you see happening in companies, the larger the organization, the more they're focused on the 70%. The smaller the organization, startup, the more they are trying to create that sustaining innovation or that disruptive innovation. Um, and that's where you begin. It's, are you trying to create better service, revenue, or profitability, or increase volume for your customers? Um, that's more like tactical type of innovations, or do you have like very ambitious goals uh, that industry has never tried for? They don't expect it to happen, but that's where you're looking at. And remember one thing: something that might seem disruptive today, once it's disrupted, it very quickly moves to sustaining and incremental innovation, right? We never had phones 20 years ago, cell phones, and now it's like, yeah, cell phone is a must do. It was disruptive at one point in time. There's a very interesting concept in economics is that till the time you don't have something, its value is infinity. The minute you find it out, now it has a value associated to it, and that's where it goes from something being very disruptive to a lower order thing. So moving forward, what are the stages of an AI use case, right? There's definitely idea submission, then it goes through an evaluation and screening, business analysis, and it goes on to development, testing. So, but we'll just hold on here because the key components of a use case and the UX, a customer journey definition, actually happens much before the development starts to happen, and like a major chunk of that should be done early on. So first of all, as we go through the use case overall, we need to understand: do you have the execution capability? Is there a strategy, and is there a purpose that you're trying to achieve over here? So understand your organization's mission, align your product strategy to the organization goal. Like your organization wants to do something, but you and your team want to do something totally different. It may not fly too much unless it really aligns to what the purpose of the mission, the mission and the vision of your organization was. Strategies is all about how would you go from step 1 to step 10, and execution and planning. Planning is nothing but like a tactical step for executing the strategy that you have. You need to understand, does the data exist or can it be gathered to solve the problem? Can the solution allow for exceptions or statistical variations? Is there a customer journey or a user experience theme here with several pain points that can be addressed, either to bring efficiency, scale, or totally new market offering? And that's where user experience is so critical, is all about understanding what our users do, right? When you think about the cell phones coming out, camera was not the very first thing that came out in cell phones, but the users were, somebody really smart figured it out that, oh, the users are actually using cameras to take a lot of pictures as they go from here to there. So cell phones enabled connectivity, and then the brilliant idea was, can you actually put camera into a cell phone? And if you think about it today, every time a new iPhone or an Android phone is launched, the main focus is about camera. It's not about the phone, because phone has gone from disruptive to incremental. It's now, what can you do with the camera? How can I make that experience even better? So it's all about understanding what customers do with your product and defining their journeys and the user experience that you're providing over there. This is an interesting concept, because user experience and whatever we try to build actually relates back to what the human brain wants to be possible. So think about it. You're really hungry. The first thing that comes to mind is, do I cook or do I go out? If I go out, what cuisine I want to eat, what ambience I want to sit in, do I want to sit indoor or outdoor? And like, it's like the why, how, and the what to execute actually starts to come in, right? So as we build products, it's why, what's the purpose, what's the motivation, what do you believe that it's going to solve for? Then you go into the how, like how are you going to really solve for it? What specific actions you have to take to solve for those things? And that's where UX comes in. Like that's really critical, right? Because it defines the how part of it, and what results at the end of the day you're trying to achieve over here. And when you club it with how a human brain thinks about it, when you figure out the why and the how, it's really your limbic brain. Like it's your trust control behavior or the gut feel. It's like, yeah, I really want to do this, not want to do this. Would it solve a problem? Is it a customer journey that's impacting millions of customers across the globe, or is it localized? And that's how you help build those very strong use cases. And the neurocortex brain, it's like your rational. It's like rationalization and communication. Have I seen in the past success of something like this? So you need to show that results to build that trust in the first place. And those things come from incremental innovations and minimal viable products being launched into the market space. Don't try to do everything for a customer. Try to do one thing, but do it really well. And that's where UX and AI go hand in hand. As I said, weak AI is very good at solving one specific task. If UX can define those 10 specific tasks in a customer journey, and AI solves for task number 2, 6, and 8, and the other things can be solved using data engineering or something else, that's perfectly fine. It's the whole experience that matters. So always remember, manage the problem, not the use case. We always need to define a long-term mission and leave the tactics open. Define the impact that we are trying to create. Be flexible with the use case. Milestones, be prepared to pivot. Understand the risk profile and uncertainty. Because when you're trying something new, there's a huge chance that it might fail. But remember, the more risk you take, the more competitive advantage you have. And not solving a problem is equally important than solving a problem. So as we go through our design research sessions, we might come across various journeys, and we're like, oh, I can solve all these journeys. But very important for us to understand which customer journeys would bring the most bang for the buck, which customer journeys would give us that competitive advantage into the marketplace. So let's get a little deeper into how we get started. A couple of things is get involved with design research, understand the problem, brainstorm it with the users. It's an iterative process, as we all know. Like fall in love with the problem, not the solution. Like define the strategy once you've figured out what the problem is, and then you go towards the solution, and keep doing it fast, right? A couple of my friends from the UX community said, UX is cheap. Please work with us because we can do things much faster than what engineering can do. Because they have to write a lot of code, but in UX, there's a lot of creativity that can come through, and you can define those processes. And it gives you that ability to flare and focus. Going like, I won't go through all these steps and processes, but design research starts over here, and then you go into like more focused discussions where you synthesize and define what you have learned from your design research session. What user experiences did you hear about? What customer journeys did you hear about? What problems that you can solve in those customer journeys? And that's where you generate your ideas, make some informed decisions. I'm going to talk about a few methodologies on how we can make those informed decisions. Prototyping cycle and team collaboration is a must, right? Not one team can deliver everything, but you need like a whole army of people with different skill sets, heterogeneous skill sets, diverse mindsets to actually deliver very strong products. We always talk about walk the wall. It's like what's desirable, what's viable, and what's visible. Desirable is what your customer needs. What's viable is what's the business model, and what's visible, can you really build it in the technologies that you have? There may be things that are aspirational, there may be edge goals, but that's where UX actually helps you define that whole product picture that's out there. Picking the right type of use cases, it really depends what your organization is ready for, right? Are they looking for like more conventional use cases? And I think it goes back to the example of the trust that you create. If you have delivered a few use cases, your stakeholders are ready to invest more money into newer products that actually move up this value stack. But larger organizations would start looking for conventional use cases. Startup organizations would move more towards disruptive use cases. And it's all about the appetite of your organization, the risk appetite of your organization, your engineering teams, uh, your design teams, and really the customer segments that you're trying to solve these problems for. Is it localized or is it a global problem? That really changes the landscape quite a lot. So how do we prioritize the use cases? And there are a ton of frameworks that are out there we can find to be very effective. But over the years, I've seen that a combination of some of the frameworks bring some good qualitative and quantitative data for decision making. We don't want everything to be like a gut feel. There has to be data supporting why we want to do this use case. And what I work with the teams is like, let's go to Moscow to eat rice. Moscow is like, what's a must have, what's a should have, what could we have, and what we will not have. And and before Moscow starts, right, a few things need to happen. First, key stakeholders and product teams need to be aligned on the objective and the prioritization factors. Then all participants, like the key participants, must agree on the initiative to prioritize. And at this point in time, we are ready to go. We should also discuss how we're going to settle any disagreements in the prioritization, because if you establish how to settle disputes before they come up, you can actually help prevent those disagreements from holding up your progress. And finally, you will also want to reach a consensus on what percentage of the resources you would like to allocate to each category. With the groundwork complete, you may begin determining which category is the most appropriate for the initiative. And let's break it down a little further. So, so that helps you with the Moscow piece. And when you talk about RISE, it's very important. RISE is what's the reach, what's the impact, their business drivers, and confidence and effort is the engineering drivers. Like how confident is engineering that they can actually do it, and what's the effort involved? And that's where some qualitative and quantitative things start to pop up. A few templates that we have seen really helpful is very simply lay down from your user experience journeys and your design thinking sessions, what are the desires, and ask your business teams to rate it. To avoid bias, what you need to do is like you do design research with a set of people, but you ask for feedback from those people as well as their peers or a different set. So mix up the users. Get them to rate it on a score of like a 1 to 10, the reach and impact of their thing, and take the same things and take it to technology and say, okay, this is what business is asking for. What's your confidence and effort to build something like this? Confident. So that's how you start collecting some of those numerical values, and you don't have to worry about if the numbers are perfectly fine, because they're all going to get, like, I might rate everything as critical at the end of the day and say everything has a rating of 8, but somebody else might rate it at a 6 or 7. So the definition is different, but don't worry about it. It all comes down to weighted averages and percentages. So we should be fine. Then what you do is you score those priorities, like put everything together. You have your business cases, the desires over here, and then you have like a couple of columns that talk about, is it a must do, the Moscow and the RISE scores that start to pop up. And a little deeper into it, you see that here are some of the columns that we start to collect on the information. That really helps us take that very data focused argument on why we need to solve this use case and what problems it's trying to solve. There are other things that you can add, like what's the AI suitability? Can you measure it today? Can you capture stats in the future, right? There's no point capturing a metrics if you cannot do anything about the metrics. You should always capture metrics that can actually help you move in a direction. Capturing metrics without being actionable is of no use. And then once you have all those scores, a very interesting piece that I've seen historically has been very effective is plotted out on a bubble chart. Again, we're talking about building products that have great UXs and UIs. So we need to evaluate data as a picture, not as a set of rows. Time to value is nothing but confidence divided by effort. The reach is the reach. So it's really the rice course. So reach, size of the bubble is the impact, and the C and the E makes the time to value, which is confidence divided by the effort. And then you start plotting those things out, and that's where humans come into the loop. It's like, do I need to solve for use case 1, use case 6, or use case 5? And a lot of times when you're having those open discussions with your UX teams, with your engineering teams, and with their stakeholders, a lot of times things might pop up is that, oh, if I was to solve just use case 3, it would take care of half of use case 2 or like 3/4 of use case 6. So this is a foundational use case for us. That's how you start to prioritize. So there's a lot of strategic decision making also that happens over here. But now you have the data to make those strategic decisions and get into discussions with your engineering teams, your design teams, and your stakeholders, because it really defines the customer impact at the end. Before even if you've started, you have some directional guidance of what the reach and impact for our customers going to be. Then you basically pick the acceleration approach. An acceleration approach is like what business value it brings in and what's the data complexity. And if you see things that have high business value, low data complexity, you do focused acceleration. If it's high business value and high data complexity, this is a competitive advantage. High data complexity, no business value, you just simply wait on those use cases. It's like active procrastination sometimes is your friend. You can use AI canvases. I have a link over here. It's pretty helpful. It really helps you jot down your thoughts properly into a very systematic way and comparing those use cases that you're coming up with. Early on, we should also try to look at what user journeys we were trying to address, what experiences we were trying to build, and really plot out some hypothesis validations. Is, will it really move the needle at the end of the day? Now, I'm taking like one very generic example is there's a cost to acquire a customer. So there is a negative cost over here, there's expense over here. But once a customer is on your platform, what experiences can you provide to those customers? And the more the customer interacts with your platform, the greens are the revenues. And then of course there is expense through your customer journeys that happen. And one thing that has come across to me, which stuck to me, was that everything on your UI, which was supported by the UX, should answer a customer question. It should not be there because you like it. A lot of times our phone screens have very limited real estate. So everything that's out there should be answering a customer's question through that user journey that they are in. The color should do something. The button should do something, the fonts should do something, the visualization should do something. So it's really engaging that customer because of the limited real estate that you have. And the intent with AI is how do you make it more efficient? How do you bring like even better insights for our customers and recommendations for our customers? And that's where like all these things actually go hand in hand. The most important thing, faster MVPs lead to great products, like do problem validation and solution validation. And the most important, I would say, is be an avid storyteller. Can you tell a compelling story? Because a lot of times we are solving for a 5th-generation challenge over here. Look at iPads, they are used by 3 years old and they are also used by 90-year-olds, right? So it's the same product, different customer segments. Start with the customer, always think big, deal with the ambiguity, and rinse and repeat. The faster you do that, the better it is. And this is like Dan Roma once said, like, there is no powerful way to discover an idea, no faster way to develop or test an idea, and no effective way to share an idea other than to draw a simple picture. And the picture comes from doing an amazing work upfront through design thinking and defining those user experiences. Create those personas, and I think to wrap up, it's all about simplify, communicate, and execute. And we all know and love these folks. And really, the idea is there's no point having an idea or creating a product if it does not solve a customer problem. And the definition of a customer problem comes from the great user experience that we are going to offer to the customer. And that only comes when we understand what the customer pain points were in the first place. So with that, there is a very interesting book that it's not a product promotion. I came across this book. One of my colleagues, it's a free thing that you can download. It's a comic series. It's Become an AI Expert in 90 Days. It's not like that, but it gives you some directional guidance on what you can do. And there is some guidance on what product patterns that you can follow when it comes to computer vision, NLP, next in sequence, or collaborative features. So, yep, it's about solving the right use case the right way, and that's what product management is all about. And that's where the whole collaborative power of all the teams is what brings value to the customers. And have tons of ideas, and would love to hear your thoughts. Reach out to me via LinkedIn, and look forward to talking to you guys. Thank you.